What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the floor of my room. I'm not committed to this setup fully. Today I'm going to be doing 5 album reviews. I have about 19 albums that I have listened to in full and at least have a thought or two on all of them, but I don't really know how to dig out of this hole. So this video is going to be the 5 biggest ones that I probably have a bit more to say about, from Jon Pardi, Kane Brown, Bryan, Carrie Underwood, and Ingrid Andress. The Carrie Underwood album is in that list because that's how far behind I am on doing album reviews. I'll save you the spiel, but y'all know I'm kind of over reviews. I'm not over them, it's just not really how I approach music anymore, is this good or bad? Anyway, those are the 5 I'm talking about in this video, so apologies to Ronnie Dunn and Tyler Hubbard and the John Anderson tribute and Morgan Wade. So many others. I'll cover them soon. Maybe. First off, let's just get into this Jon Pardi record, Mr. Saturday Night.
That's why they call me Mr. Saturday Night.
What an absolutely fun album. Some of the finest, most interesting, lushly produced country music you are going to hear all year. I definitely don't think this is the deepest album. If you've seen my interview with Jon, you know he likes to keep things kind of fun and fresh and happy, and I think that's true in his music. Most of the songs here are really good time party songs, but even when he pulls it back, there's a real jovialness and playfulness in the lyrical wordplay, as well as just the amount of stuff going on in the production. This album was produced by Bart Butler, Ryan Gore, and Jon Pardi himself, and those guys just know how to make a song sound great. I mean, it helps that Janae Fleener is all over this record with some of the most interesting, cool little fiddle licks and really beautiful lines, but there's also really fun guitar lines, piano is all through this, you get some organ sometimes, tons of steel, and just the drums, they have this it's like a fizzier version of a drum that they do, and it just makes the whole record come to life. Now, you've heard me rave about the title track before, and I stand by that. I think Mr. Saturday Night is one of the best songs that has been released this year, a perfect mix of happy and sad with great music. But my other favorites would be Neon Lightspeed, which just has that super lovely classic country sound.
Slow and steady step into the backbeat.
Almost like his song Barlight that he released a few years ago. The Day I Stopped Dancing, with its whole apocalyptic imagery of when Texas stops playing straight and Memphis stops singing the blues, that's when I'll stop loving you. It's like the whole world is falling apart, but country music version. Almost reminds me of the band Perry song End of Time in that way, but it works so well, and that is some of the prettiest music I've heard on any record this year. The closing track, Reverse Cowgirl, is one of the most successful but strange songs I've heard in a long time.
You put that thing in reverse. Cowgirl.
It like double reverse psychologies you, because at first you think it's just going to be like a dirty sex song because it's called Reverse Cowgirl. Then you listen to it and it's a very plaintive ballad, not dissimilar to Space Cowboy, and using that same sort of comma song function of him saying, "Put that thing in reverse, cowgirl, like, come back here." And it sounds so beautiful and sincere, and it's really a quite lovely song, but then when you really listen to it, that's when the second dose of reverse psychology kicks in, and you're like, okay, but it is making a ton of innuendos, but am I supposed to laugh? Because he's like, how do we get in this position? I know it's hard to do this face to face, and like I appreciate it. It is one of the weirder songs I've ever heard. There's a sort of a Tequila Little Time moment called Smokin' a Doobie on this record, which is obviously, as like the world's biggest Tequila Little Time stan, I'm all for it. I love that little bit of kind of like Mexican influence in there. And when he says smoking a doobie on the Guadalupe,
I'm smoking a doobie on the Guadalupe.
I've always heard it said Guadalupe, and so it just made me laugh really hard. And that's what Pardi is so good at. Like, his music is jovial. You want to have fun to it. Of the more downbeat tracks, I really love Rain Check.
You look so right, but girl, it feels so wrong.
Although I don't really love the song Santa Cruz. That feels really kind of out of place on this record. It's a co-write with Luke Laird, who I love, but to me it feels like Luke Laird might have come in with a track that he wanted to use, and so it just sounds super different than the rest of the sonic palette, and maybe not in the best way. I'm pretty sure the next single they're pushing is Your Heart or Mine, which again doesn't necessarily feel as classic as the rest of the record, but it does have that kind of dirt on your boots type sound, and that's obviously worked very well for Pardi in the past. So I think that is probably the right choice for the next single, but man, this record is just a very good listen. I feel like if someone in your life even remotely likes country, or real country I should say, they're not going to dislike if this record just plays all the way through. So in my book, it's just another great Jon Pardi album. I don't think he tries to rock the boat too much, but what he does, I really don't think there's anyone in the mainstream doing it as well. Then let's talk about Ingrid Andress's Good Person.
Eyes, it's like seeing blue for the first time.
Ingrid Andress is an artist that I have frankly never fully understood why she's classified as a country artist or wants to be, because she seems to like making a sort of dreamy, atmospheric, sad girl pop music, which I think she does very well. But much like her first album, I think this album sounds glossy with just like a touch of steel laced on top of it, and I'm like, I guess that's what's qualifying this as country. But the melodies, the themes, like nothing else feels all that country to me. I do have to give a shout out to the album cover here because I really think it's beautiful. That's literally my favorite shade of kind of bluish green, and it just feels sort of watery and sad the same way that this album does. So I think it captures it well. However, I think the album is very downbeat and not a very fun listen. It's not very dynamic. I felt like I was stuck in the ending montage of a Grey's Anatomy episode for like 40 straight minutes. And even if the songs themselves are all pretty good individually, as an album, it really drags. So much so that when you get to the last track, which seems to be tacked on, maybe Ingrid didn't really want it in the track list, but the album ends with Wishful Drinking on streaming services, her single with Sam Hunt. It's like so refreshing to have a little bit of a beat and some more movement, even though I don't even like that movement of like, where did I get through? Da-da-da-da-da. And so for me, the songs that really stood out were the ones that had a bit more movement melodically, or maybe a little bit more of a beat to them, instead of just kind of the simple sad girl piano music. Those would include Pain,
It can be ruthless, yeah.
which is sort of slinky and then just has this booming chorus where she moves all over that note on Pain, and I think it sounds very cool. I also think the song Seeing Someone Else works well. The lyric on that song, how she thinks that this guy is seeing someone else, but he's not cheating. He's just seeing an old version of her. And she's like, I've evolved into someone new. That's an interesting lyric. And I think the more percussive guitar really brings it to life. But absolutely, to me, the standout track on the whole record, and by far the most country track on the whole record, is called Yearbook.
You never saw it coming from the bleachers at homecoming.
This song is masterfully written. It's one of those songs that comes out of country music where just every part of it is so well considered. It's a song about her parents' unhappy marriage, and it's framed so well. Listen to the first verse. Most likely to get married, class of 1980. It's there in black and white up on a shelf. Damn, they look so happy. Wish mom had kept that jacket and dad had kept the Firebird he had to sell. As it goes on, she says they've been living in the same house for 40 years now, but the last time they were on the same page was in the yearbook. And I'm like, damn, the double meaning of page and the metaphorical meaning of page is just so cool. I don't love this album, but I love this song, so credit where credit is due. Then I want to talk about Zach Bryan's Summertime Blues.
My summertime blues, summertime blues. I've got nothing.
I took my time with this record because, frankly, after American Heartbreak, I had some Zach fatigue where I was just like, oh, I cannot do. I know it's only 9 more songs, but I'm like, when I reviewed that album, I just had to listen for so many hours to try and have something smart to say that I was like, no, Zach, I'm not listening to another minute of your damn music. And I'm honestly glad I did, because I find when I listen to music that I don't want to be listening to, they're gonna get a bad review. And I actually really, really like Summertime Blues. Like, I think this would be a way better project to show an aspiring Zach fan than American Heartbreak, although I feel like American Heartbreak is like such a vibe, but this is an easier starting place. To me, this album feels like a big step up in sophistication of Zach's music, as well as an album a lot more informed by someone that's played a bunch more live shows now. Definitely some of the intros of the songs give me that vibe, like the banjo part on Quittin' Time, or that electric guitar line at the beginning of Motorcycle Drive-By. Those are things that are going to play so well live just because they're immediately recognizable what song that you're on. On top of that, I also feel like maybe the live performances have informed the use of drums. These songs are way more kind of like dynamic and percussive, leaning a little more in the rock direction. Eddie Spear, the producer, I said it like way back when we were talking about From Austin, that he'd worked with the Lumineers before, and I definitely can hear some of that influence a lot more on these songs, and I think it serves them well. And another kind of step up in musicality that I felt was all the harmonies on Summertime Blues.
Coastline starts to sing with the young and heartless.
Ooh, those gave me the chills when those first came in, and you get the oohs with him, and it's like summertime blue, doo, doo, doo. That gave me early Mumford vibes, and I'm not one of those people that ever went through a cynical early Mumford phase. I think that was a beautiful phase. Give me more of that. Summertime Blues is also cool just because if you're a Zach fan, you really do get this kind of insight into his headspace as he was going out and touring. Like, this album is very much set in time. I mean, it even mentions like the shame he's feeling before playing in Richmond, and I was like, oh, that was the show I was at. Like, it's very like of this moment. Summertime Blues is one of the songs on this record that feels almost like a novella. It captures a feeling really well. There's lots of images I really like, but do I fully understand how they go together? Not especially. Hilton Head and the Hamptons, where the rich all go to die, the young kids all get high just to pass the time. I bought a bottle of the best bourbon a beat down boy could buy. I'm gonna bury all my sorrow as the summertime passes by. And he goes on to sing about the girls he'll never hold and all the boys that are feeling down low. I mean, it's a kind of obvious connection. It does give me that same feeling as like Summertime Sadness by Lana Del Rey. So yeah, maybe it's just about like the macabre despair of success or something. I don't know. I was so pumped to hear Jamie, not only because it features Charles Wesley Godwin, but also I think that the story of that song about an old man that has drank way too much because he's lost his wife, and it ends with this like scene of the police surrounding him and he's just crying, sad and drunk because he's so alone without her. It's like a really cool, poignant story and such an image. A song that I feel like I could paint a picture of, and sometimes do paint pictures of. Those are songs that I love.
That is where they'll draw their guns, oh Jamie.
It would be so freaking intimidating to get on a track with Charles, because like Charles can blow Zach out of the water vocally. And I love Zach's voice, and I love Zach's writing, and I love his passion. But just in terms of tone, when Charles comes in, you're like, oh damn. Yeah. That's why you're like one of my favorite singers ever. I think the best songs on the album are kind of the ones up in the front. I haven't found myself going back to Us Then or Matt and Audie very much. However, 20 So has been a big grower for me. Specifically later on in the song, you almost get these little like shimmering, I don't even know what it is, little like electric guitar or really high steel, like doo doo, like it feels like little like raindrops in the background.
Been chomping at the bit just to love an honest man.
That feels expensive. That's when really it clicked to me. Oh, this EP is a big step up in kind of musical and studio sophistication. You know, another great, weird entry in the Zach Bryan catalog. And now all we've gotten is Burn, Burn, Burn since then. So maybe we're getting a little slow down after what have we gotten? 44 songs this year? But I'm pretty happy to have them. I mean, I love that his music is so full now. I love that there's fiddle. How did I not freaking mention the fiddle? I think I get self-conscious that I mention fiddle too much, but there's a lot of good haunting fiddle on this record too. Yeah, I mean, what's not to like? Interesting lyrics, all the instruments we love, and now a little bit more of like a beat and some kind of like more intros and a little bit of the shimmer, a little bit of the harmony. It's all kind of coming together for me. Then let's talk about Carrie Underwood's Denim and Rhinestones. I don't know what inspired Carrie Underwood to make such an aggressively 80s record, but I think overall it's a pretty strange choice. It is sonically cohesive, and it does have a sort of synthy country bounce to it, but overall it's just kind of weird. But I will say, kind of weird is better than kind of boring. Ghost Story is so boring to me, especially hearing the rest of this record. I'm like, why didn't you open the album with like Crazy Angels as the first single or something? Which I think is the dumb girl summer bop. I'm sorry, I know that song is stupid and morally dubious, but I think Crazy Angels is so damn catchy and gets me hyped weirdly. Heaven Knows I'm Flying Low Tonight, like she's gonna go be like a slutty angel. Don't you feel like that would be the jam of Vegas? Or Nashville, as it were. Nash Vegas. There are like 3-ish songs on here that I think work really well. I think Pink Champagne is as fizzy as champagne, and that song is fun. Your Kiss has got me wishing I could bottle it up. Every sip to my lips is a sweet sugar rush. Your love gets me more buzzed than pink champagne. I don't know. I just think that lyric is so flirty, silly, lighthearted. That little guitar part in the beginning, major success. If the whole album kind of had that vibe a little more, I think it would work better. However, I despise the song Faster and the weird kind of wind chime, R&B, Take My Breath Away-esque vibe of that song.
So tell me everything here in the dark.
To me, it felt so dated and just not a pleasant melody. I also really hate the song Burn. Even if I bet a safe radio bet is on the record, it would be that one. I just, when a song starts with that, kill me. Just, it's a song full of the word little and burn and all the good country radio words, and just, no. There's a weird kind of like hard rock section of the album with Poor Everybody Else, which I actually think Carrie kind of rips on.
Pour everybody else.
It's kind of that fun, sassy rocker chick lyric of like when she walks in the room, pour everybody else. And then it ends with the song Garden, which is just kind of like boring and sort of pat. I don't know what this record was trying to do, and I'm surprised it has not connected with people. I mean, Carrie's usually got a very loyal fan base, and this one has not really clicked that well, but it's just disjointed. It's a strange era, and the Ghost Story is somehow still the single they're playing at radio. I don't know. I merely liked like half this record. At least she's doing what she wants, because clearly this was the type of record she wanted to make. Let's move on. Let's finish the video talking about Kane Brown's new album, Different Man.
We could be a story about love in a bar, or what if...
Of the Kane Brown albums I've heard, this is extravagantly his best one. That said, it doesn't mean I absolutely love the album. I just think that it really surprised me in a lot of ways. I think with Experiment, my general feeling was, what is the hate with Kane Brown more than anyone else? This sounds like so many other things on radio. On this album, I see a little bit more clearly that part of what makes Kane Brown controversial is just he goes aggressively pop and then just turns right around and will make an aggressively country song. And he does it sort of shamelessly, and more power to him. It's his career and he can make whatever music he wants. It's just when you hear them back to back, you're like, weird. You don't usually hear this on a record, to have a song like Grand.
Only ones I keep around me is my fam. No coincidence, it's always been the...
And have a song like Whiskey Sour.
I take my whiskey sour, sitting barside after hours.
And for a lot of people, it will be hard to look past certain songs like Grand, where they're not even trying to be country songs. I mean, it's literally currently a single at pop radio. But for people that do want some country elements in their country music, there's a ton of fiddle on this record. I must say, I was surprised. I'm like, Kane is having a little love affair with the fiddle here, and occasionally it's on like a really beautiful and languid, like it is on Whiskey Sour. Sometimes it's almost turned into a beat, like a synthy version of fiddle on songs like Go Around, which really kind of feels like Kane Brown in a nutshell, like this fusion of pop and R&B and country music and this like skittering beat. And then on this one song called The Devil Don't Bother, you've got a real kind of barn burning, like Devil Went Down to Georgia, Southern Gothic feel to it. That song's kind of dark and weird. There is like a Southern Gothic vibe going through some of these songs that I wasn't expecting. You hear it a lot on Bury Me in Georgia. You hear it on Riot. Which is a song that I wish told more of a story. It's more about the energy of like, I'm gonna defend where I'm from. I would start a riot, but I was like, man, it seemed like we were going somewhere with a story here, but the writing just stays kind of shallow, and that would be my biggest criticism of the writing on this record. It stays pretty simple, pretty shallow. You're not getting crazy turns of phrase or the most beautiful images of the world. It's pretty short words, simple concepts. Nowhere is that more true than on the song that is going to be the runaway hit. And of course, it's the one I really don't like, called Thank God, which is a duet with his wife, Caitlin.
So thank God I get to wake up by your side.
I think they both actually sound good on this track. However, it is another one of these country love songs, but as a worship song, where I love you so much and God bless me with you, and it feels more like a worship song of her than of God, but you know, that's how they are. I have this imaginary PhD thesis that I could write about this. You know, we started with Holy by Florida Georgia Line, and then Woman Amen, and so many others, but Kane Brown's really become the king of it. He's got Heaven, Worship You, and Thank God. And there's like 100 others. If you follow me on Instagram, I post about it all the time. But listen to these lyrics. This is so damn simple. I was lost. You found a way to bring me back. Needed forgiveness. You always gave me that. Girl, I'm a witness of your love, because you don't be giving up. It's crazy how you saved me. Hand on the Bible. Don't know how I got you, but I couldn't ask for more. Girl, what we got's worth thanking God for. So thank God. The rest of the song is the same way, just using little turns of phrase that are vaguely biblical, like calling her an angel. And to me, it's just like a boring pop country song. So of course it's the single, and of course it's #1 on all of iTunes. I like the song about the devil woman that's eating some man's heart.
Yeah, she'll eat your heart for breakfast while she's walking out the door.
Yeah, wouldn't you rather hear this on the radio? She'll eat your heart for breakfast while she's walking out the door. Just another off her checklist, drinking poison that she pours. She's a long black train a-comin', so you best get out the way. Save yourself, cause she leaves hell begging for water. The devil don't even bother. I love it. Vampy and weird. Now, a song that maybe doesn't have the deepest wordplay, but has incredibly deep subject matter is Pop's Last Name.
I grew up without a father. He's been locked up since 9.
Kane singing about how his father wasn't really a father to him, but he was raised by his grandfather, and he's really proud to have his pop's last name. You just gotta be moved by that song. No matter your feelings on Kane Brown or whatever, telling the truth has a way of being disarming, and that's how I felt in that song. It just feels true and real. So I don't know. I mean, I've only listened through that album like 1.5 times. It's pretty long. It's like 58 minutes, but I will say this, it's not boring. Kane was taking some swings on this album, and I think if he could make the writing like a little just elevated, you know, it's so simple. This kind of weird fusion sound that he's doing on some of this record, I think a lot more people would like it than you might suspect, even people kind of in our corner that tend to like stuff that sounds like Jon Pardi. Because I haven't even mentioned Like I Love Country Music. That's a pretty damn country banger. And then that song, Nothing I'd Change. Tell me this does not sound like a classic country song. But I understand, for a lot of people, songs like See You Like I Do and Thank God and Grand, they're hard to overlook. But yeah, there's a track on here called Different Man, the title track, where Kane says, maybe I was born for this. Maybe I was born to tell stories on stage. And there were times listening to the record that I was like, I think you might be right, dude. But just make the songs like a little more lyrically interesting, please. But anyway, those are my thoughts on those 5 albums. I suppose if they were ranked kinda, it's vaguely like Pardi and Zach, if I'm feeling exactly opposite moods, at the top, and then Kane and Carrie, and then Ingrid at the bottom. Although some of Ingrid's songs individually would be way higher up on the list, but I found the album a slog to go through. And yeah, that's, 5 albums. That took me an hour to shoot, so Maybe I do know why I dread doing album reviews. I want to give every album its due. I was hoping to talk about each one for 2 minutes, but oops.